So, I used to do tech stuff more frequently, but then I used to buy tech more. A company whose products nearly always inspire a reasonable chunk of buyer's remorse in me is Noctua. Unfortunately, unlike traditional buyer's remorse, my issue is remorse at not buying their stuff nearly as much as I would like. I had the D14 in my spare rig till the motherboard died, no relation to the half a ton of Noctua cooling hanging off of it. This was purely the fault of Gigabyte's upgraded BIOS that was supposed to make my 1155 board accept a free 770K. Anyway, my love affair, or perhaps it would be fairer to say my one-sided, slightly stalky practice of staring at Noctua products from afar, continues to this day. That's where this little fella comes in. This little guy is a 120mm cooling fan made by Noctua in their traditional colour scheme, which I personally love. The haters can go do one. To me, Noctua colours are reminiscent of sweet shops and toffee or coffee. They are cosy and utterly non-gamified and make me think back to the older beige boxes inherent to computering's past, to hazy sunlit days of people called J.R. Hartley phoning up about a fly fishing book, or old Werther's original adverts. I'm sure I remember reading that Noctua's colours were originally inspired by memories of childhood sweet shops, but I couldn't find anything online to corroborate that. So as I say, this little chappie is a 120mm cooling fan by Noctua. The thing that makes this unusual is that this little guy is powered by USB. So what could anyone want with a USB powered fan like this? For me, I had two needs. Every now and then my router just loses its mind and disconnects for a while. It usually sorts itself out eventually, but I have noticed it gets fairly toasty, so I thought some local cooling might help matters. Since it has a powered USB on it, I was curious if there was an option for that, and ta-da! Noctua to the rescue. Also, a while back a buddy sold me his older PS4 after he upgraded to the Pro. It has a lot of the quirks you would expect from a second-hand console, noisier fans, a sometimes sketchy disk drive, a hard drive I won't ever fully trust, and a general sense that it will all suddenly burst into flames. At some point I fully intend to open up the PS4 and replace the hard drive and the cooling fan, and generally tinker as much as is feasible. This will be a project I will get down to down the line. At the moment though, I have the PS4 positioned in a fairly cluttered space, where my PC cooling sensors are telling me it is probably a bit starved for air, or at least recycling its own vented hot air. Every now and then it ramps up the cooling to an excessive degree that can actually require turning up the volume on the game to counter. So before saving up to tackle the PlayStation's problems directly, I thought it might be sensible to reduce the stress on the PS4 by supplying the nook it's in more fresh air and just get some airflow around the PS4 in general. I can see the uses of a USB powered fan being fairly niche, but with the superfluousness of USB these days, there are probably more places you could find a use for this than you might think. That said, I deeply regret using my coffee as a prop for the beginning of this video, because I wanted to drink some. So without further ado, inside the box, actually let's have a look at the box first, because even their packaging is nice. It's one of them ones with a bit of a window. I have already opened this up once, so it's going to be a little bit disheveled. You've got like a bit of artwork that explains the general construction and what makes Noctua better than a traditional fan. And another window on the back. Wow, I didn't know about this one. Loads and loads more information about the fan. Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't realise that's probably helps make the expense of the product somewhat greater, but you know. There probably couldn't be more information on a box this size unless they used obnoxious text throughout. By which I mean font size, I don't mean Comic Sans. Anywho, let's actually look inside now, instead of not really like I just did. Inside we've got a little booklet. Can you tell I've already opened this? Can you? This has more information about installation and connectivity. I think there is a bit of a situation where if you plug this one into a computer it would be a bit of an issue, or perhaps if you do connect this straight to a PC it might not run at full speed. If you imagine that without the creases, that's like what you'd get. Inside we have their noise resistant rubbery dongly mounts. Let's go crazy. Build a Noctua castle. Okay, I've actually had this fan in operation, so the fact that there isn't a ton more dust on this is a miracle. And there's a dog hair. Good stuff. So you've got Noctua's dongly anti-vibration fan mounts if you're mounting this somewhere sort of more traditional. I don't think I've ever used these, before for anything. Should give them a go one time, see if they make a difference. You have the fan itself. I love the colours that Noctua use. All of their products just like reek of quality. Well, this one probably, as I say, smells a bit of dust. Excuse me, everybody. Always got a relatively smooth motion to the fans when you give them a little spin. You have 4 screws, because to include less would be pretty weird of them. The power adapter cable to enable it to run off of USB. This is important, given that that's the main selling fan of this package. When I said fan then, I think I meant to say feature. You have a 30cm extension cable. You have an OmniJoin cable, which suggests a level of connectivity I doubt this is going to be able to live up to. I reckon OmniJoin means specifically to other things that are compatible with this OmniJoin setting, which makes Omni in this instance mean almost nothing. Just as well have Apple refer to a brand new Apple-only connectivity system as Omni. In fact, I wish I hadn't given them the idea. But in any event, I'm assuming if you've watched this video, you know how to connect up a computer fan. What I'm going to be doing is connecting up the USB. Now obviously you've got the background hum of my computer because the soundproofing I have in this room. Oh, thanks, disk space warning. Thanks. That was a disk space warning. I get those all the time. So yeah, the soundproofing I have in this room is a bit substandard, so sorry about the background hum, but you should be able to hear this distinctly. Let's see if I can plug this in without messing anything up. I cannot. Okay, I'm gonna need the extender. Okay, so wiring done. I'm just gonna plug that in to the connector. I shall do it in silence, so that there's more of a contrast between before and after. So, you know, really appreciate the absence of sound now. And then which initially feels fairly obnoxious, but in actual fact, once there is some PlayStation noise, or once there is a bit of fan noise from a computer, it becomes fairly ignorable. I mean, I wouldn't record audio whilst it was on, ordinarily. I'm not a madman, but in both the use cases I can see me getting from this. That extra bit of noise whilst it's running isn't really a big deal. And of course, once it's plugged in, you get access to the RGB controls. No, I'm just kidding. Noctua are better than that. Once plugged in, the fans spin. I mean, hopefully, otherwise you have a defective unit. And then it starts doing cooling. And beyond that, there isn't much to say. I needed a USB-powered computer fan, and so far this is just the ticket. There was no objective way for me to effectively measure the default level of noise the PS4 makes, and to then provide a contrast in a more scientific way, since factors such as ambient temperature, gameplay length, and only specific parts of games seeming to require the higher level of fan use by the PS4. But I feel confident that this fan will improve the airflow getting to the PlayStation, and would be the case with the router. There is no way of getting around the fact that the fan does put out 22 decibels, and that's according to Noctua, which is noticeable, but in my case will only be turned on whilst the PlayStation is on, or will be out of the way next to a router high up on a shelf. I had originally thought I was going to have to knock together some sort of improvised setup cannibalizing a USB fan controller, and then connecting 4-pin PC fans, which would have been a lot messier. It was while researching this I discovered there were USB powered fans, and then furthermore that Noctua made them. So hopefully this video will be mildly useful for anyone who finds themselves in a similar situation. If you need cooling for a device, and it has USB and is fairly stationary, rigging this up with a couple of cable ties is an extra option on the table. If it came with a finger shroud or a dust filter, or some sort of universal mount to enhance its functionality, outside of the PC space, I wouldn't say no. But if you need some extra USB cooling for your PC or for whatever, so long as nobody is likely to stick their fingers into it, this is the doodah for you. And I mean, it also comes with a 6-year warranty, which is pretty decent.